debate. Okay, the first item of business this evening is the election of a town mayor or chairman as well. If there are any, yes, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to nominate myself if that's okay. I know there's already been a general discussion around this subject, but the fact of the matter is 3 years ago I was nominated as mayor and I missed out on one place that was dismissed by our then town clerk and an abstention. And I feel like I've been the longest consecutive standing member, and I know when this discussion took place I wasn't even voiced, like I weren't even brought into the discussion, and I assume that maybe that's because I just had a baby, or you know, maybe because I'm a lot younger than the rest of you, minus Reese who just arrived. But I really would like to be considered.
Okay. That's a nomination. If there's a second for that nomination, Councillor Ellis is seconding the nomination. Any other nominations? Sue?
I would like to nominate you, please.
Okay, thank you very much for doing so. Is there any seconders for that? Councillor Westby second it, and Councillor Smith, who I assume whoever seconded one of them. Any other nominations? No. Okay. Well, it's fair, Tony. You've made a point. If you want to say any more, I feel it's appropriate. You're welcome to do so.
No, I feel like, in fairness, I've already preempted how this vote's going to go, just because I feel like it was previously agreed. I would just say that I am disappointed both that I wasn't in that discussion, even for either role, for deputy as well. So it is what it is.
I'm sorry about that. You're referring to an informal conversation we had as councillors, which was advertised to all councillors as being open. You were entitled to attend as much as any councillor, and the conversation was a natural course of the conversation for everybody there. In fact, I did my best to avoid very much of it. So, yes.
I know we don't normally discuss our private conversations, but one of the things there was that nothing was preempted and decisions would be made on the night.
Yeah. And that's prerequisite for decisions like this. But yes,
I bet it's the right result though.
Okay, that's for councillors to determine. What I will say is, thank you very much for the nomination, the second nomination. I have served as chair for now 2 terms. There's still more to do. I think there'll always be still more to do. But whilst I have energy and excitement for this role, I feel a great honour to serve this community. And one of the things that I feel the next year, whoever is chair, the focus of this council has got to be about creating those community-led links that we are so desperately in need of doing here. That now we've healed here, we start using our influence to heal our communities. That we bring everybody together, that we stop hindering good things, that start helping good people. And that is a principle, regardless, I hope, of anybody who's in this chair. So thank you very much for the nomination. Without too much ado, we will go to a vote. As Councillor Taylor was the first nominee, if we can have a vote for show of hands in favour of Councillor Taylor, please. So that's 3. And a show of hands for myself. Okay, thank you very much. The nomination stands as Councillor Leslie and myself retains the chair and mayor role. But thank you very much for being willing to put yourself forward, Taylor. We know you're always willing to serve the community too. I hope it's no reflection of yourself. The election of deputy chair. Do we have any nominations? Councillor Dale.
I would like to nominate you somewhere, Councillor Bond. The reason I feel Councillor Bond would actually fulfil the role. He was very active in the AMP right at the beginning, and I worked alongside him and I know how he works very thoroughly. He's able to speak the language of Wrexham County Council, builders, you know, Homes England, whatever. And he has these skills, which we're very lucky that he had in his day job, and has the knowledge, which I think is really important, the knowledge of how these sues going to move forward. And he gets on with most people, well, usually. So I would, I would nominate Roger Bond as deputy mayor.
Thank you for that nomination. Explain the reason for that. Is there anyone who'd like to second that nomination?
Yes,
Councillor Montague, just beat you, David. Just pitch you. Are there any other nominations for the deputy role?
I'd like
Peter?
to nominate Councillor Taylor for the work she's been doing in the community and her work generally with the council and working with Brecon as well to try to bring the community together.
Okay. One question I should have asked is, Roger, are you willing?
I am willing, thank you.
Also, Taylor, are you willing?
Yeah, I'll second that nomination. I think only on the basis that, and this is no disrespect to you, Roger, at all, because I think your previous work has been phenomenal. But I do feel like it, again, and this, I do feel quite emotional about this. I feel like for someone to have only come back in the last 8 weeks, when there's someone that's been sat here for 8 years, and also the fact that we try and promote that we're a diverse council, that we want younger people to apply when we've got elections and when we've got vacancies. And I think we're kind of setting that precedent, especially following what Councillor Dale said, that you've got to be able, do you know what I mean? You've got to be able to speak the lingo. Obviously, I know I'm common as much, there's no hiding that. But I think to have someone that is a bit younger would break that stereotype that you only get somewhere if you're a middle-aged person.
Noted, thank you. I'm now middle-aged, thank you. But no, at the point taken, Taylor, and thank you for coming. Any other nominations? Roger, you have an opportunity to say anything if you so desire.
Well, it's only just to say that I think Taylor did right in breaking the stereotype of white male and stale, and I think that should be recognised in some way. And I hope that you'll continue to do work that you're doing, which is very valuable, both in the community and in Wrexham. So, on my own part, I believe in the things that you've been doing. I also believe that we should deliver on things locally in the way that, again, you believe could be done, but also to work with the community to show what is being done. And I think that's a big gap. And hopefully, whatever happens, we can work together.
Thank you very much. If there are no more nominations, we will have a vote in the order of the nomination. Councillor Bond as deputy, votes in approval. They can show by raising their hand, please. And Councillor Taylor. Thank you. Councillor Bond. Could I just say something on a personal note? A dear friend of mine who has also served with me this last year. Councillor Tyre has been a tremendous support to me as mayor. And has done wonders behind the scenes, going around helping people regardless of where they are. I think there's to be commended for the services you've given to this council so far. So thank you very much for the self-sacrifice and doing this. Thanks.
Can I just say thanks from all of us to both of you for being the mayor and deputy mayor in this last difficult time.
Thank you. We'll wait until the end of my term for that one. I don't take too much.
So I'll take the name.
Okay, well let's I can see that we don't have any right, yes. I'll take that. Do we sign those now, do we?
Yes, please.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not used to this. Organisation, thank you. Okay. Proper answer. Thanks, Roger. Okay. I can see there's no one else, so we won't do that. So
Put yourself back a couple of years. Can't get
I
away
can't
with it
even
like
tell
that.
the year. At the moment. That tells you a lot. Is that old age? Middle age anyway. There we go. Declarations of interest. No declarations of interest. Any peculiar interests? Nope. No. Do not hear from ATC. We have a resignation of Councillor Roberts, who's moved to be closer to someone who else. It's a good reason to be stopping the council. They moved out of the area, and we have a vacancy. This will now be advertised. Can you confirm the application end date?
It's on the board.
It's on the notice.
Sorry, it was dated 14 days from Tuesday.
So I presume that at our next meeting in June.
We'll be able to answer.
Thank you very much. Okay. Right. Item number 6, public participation. Any members of the public? Now's your chance.
I have the
Tony just got his hand up before Nigel. Go on, Tony.
Just quickly then, thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. I come tonight to ask for the council's support, and I hear what you said earlier, Phil, about you know, you've got the house correct now, and looking for some community support. Well, look no further. We're ready to accept as much help as you can chuck at us there. I've come representing the Funfest team tonight, Attleborough Funfest team. Amongst other things, we've had a change of committee members, but that means we're no less enthusiastic about doing some stuff to make events for the town. One thing on the radar, and we have started organising as early as possible, is fireworks again for this autumn. We've been speaking to pyrotechnics guys and trying to get things organised like that. So I come not just for your moral support, which is really very nice anyway, but some financial support. And I believe that's number item 11A on the agenda tonight, is it?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So I've just asked the council to consider favourably any requests. Just to put you into the picture, some of the quotes we've had ranging from the pyrotechnics displays. This year we're being a little bit ambitious and set some music with flamethrowers and that sort of thing. So it's quite a display, but they range somewhere between 4,500, 5,000, 6,000 quid, depending on what sort of arrangements you have put in place. That's not to say that that's all we need. So don't think we've got to stop there. Please dig a wee bit deeper, because we need things like security liaison on the evening, events packages, fencing, all that sort of thing, security lighting and that sort of thing. So it'd be really handy to have your full support financially as well as morally. And congratulations again, Smith.
Thank you. Means a lot, as you've said, community so well as well. Thank you. Right, so we'll discuss that in more detail. All right, to 11A. Nigel, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, thank you. Can you just confirm that my understanding is correct that the skateboard park is supposed to operate between 9 AM and 9 PM?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question. We can find out and come back to you.
Disappointed to say you're supposed to put a new one in. You can over this thing like a rash.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand it's till 9 p.m. What I'm going to do is operate it being used after 9 o'clock and a random ring one of you, just to let you know. And I'll do it at 10 o'clock, it's still being used, and 11 o'clock. Because if I've got to be inconvenienced, so be it. But it is 9 o'clock.
Okay, councillor Taylor.
Yeah, if I may, it is 9 o'clock. The year that my mum was mayor, she actually went and purchased banners out of her own pocket to put up at Skate Park to ask people not to use it past 9 o'clock because otherwise Brecon were actually going to shut it down.
Okay.
So,
That's the stance I'm going to take.
Okay. Thank you for your candor. We can certainly look at advertising that better than it has been today.
It's not a case of advertising it, it's a case of running the facility properly.
Yeah.
If you break planning, I would go for enforcement.
Okay.
We've been down that route before, Taylor has already gone.
Yeah.
Under her knowledge, tutelage. We came close before.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nigel. Any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, Michael Kelly here regarding community gardens. 6 months ago, I came in here and commented on them. You, thank you, been what we're doing. I was asked if I could give more details to the councillor, and she would be straight away in touch with you within a week. 6 months, I've heard nothing. It's regarding the advertising of it. He took a couple today, one was disabled. He never even heard of us.
Right.
Hospital, some of the hospital recommended it. And I was wondering, you know, it just seems though we're putting ahead and going to the brick wall all the time. And also, I'm waiting for a medical, which will come one day, I expect. But the doctor surgery there they are, they might have to stop me driving or something, I don't know what to do, because I have got a date now. I think that'll be 3 months since I paid the money? At least 2 months since I paid the money and can't get medical. One other little thing I want to talk, and I'll shut up. What's happened to the grass cutting around Alborough? Or lack of grass cutting. There's a lot of places aren't being cut at all. We've got pieces of our house, that's disgraceful.
Okay, and whereabouts is it?
Help the foods.
Up and close. Okay. We can certainly look into that. Sorry, did you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you came up to the office, didn't you?
Yeah.
My colleague did report that, about the grass cutting. I don't believe it's the council, I think it's,
Yeah.
anyway, it's been reported.
Yeah, so that parcel land has been reported. It isn't actually part of the town council's responsibilities. Okay.
just on community trials, do you know who you were waiting to hear back from? Because I've been speaking to Diana and I did do you quite a bit of
Yeah, we know
advertising a
that.
while back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe 18.
and I
I've got a
did,
minute, I've got a minute.
okay, and did you get the new posters that I did for you?
Them ones,
Posters,
yeah.
Diane?
But that's all, there's still people in Attleborough not knowing whereabouts out there. Because as my husband now said, we had two, poor old man today in a wheelchair. And they've been worrying sick how he's got to get to the hospital, not knowing there was a car service out there what he could use.
He has actually cancelled appointments.
Because he couldn't get there.
He couldn't get there.
Because he can't manage the wheelchair. They won't let him take the wheelchair on some of the buses because there's nowhere for him to put it.
Sorry, Deb, I know you weren't coming.
If you get some laminated, I'll put them up on our Facebook. And
Yeah,
do social media.
I've done social media, but I think what I was just thinking is a lot of these people are probably the sort of people that don't
Can't
have
use social
ready
media.
access.
So
So what might help is if Councillor Lane, yourselves and I perhaps sat down and identified some places that might be good to target, because we don't necessarily know that these places exist. And once we do, we can reach out to them a little bit more.
We could also have a word with local press and perhaps see if we can get them to run something. So when there's poor people like this gentleman was today, I mean, I felt really sorry for him because not having a cancel appointment because they didn't know anywhere else we was out there for them to use.
This initiative was is being operated through Brecon Council. And Brecon Council were meant to facilitate communications to the vulnerable and those groups. Has that happened?
I haven't had any communication with them, but not.
We can
not-
chase it up
it's not
because,
happening.
Yeah, because they've got the list of people within the electoral role that this would cater for particularly. And if you're talking about marketing, marketing is the least effective way to communicate information like this. Direct communication to those affected is. So we can certainly make representation with Brecon to see if they'll put that on that notice when they do that within the electoral role as well. That might be far more effective than anything we can do as well. But we will do our best. Keith, sorry. You are mindful of the time.
Can I just give you some information? Because there's nothing on the agenda for district council or outside bodies today report.
No, we didn't.
First of all, the cabinet of Breckland is going on the road, and the first meeting on the road will be here the 6th of June, which is 9:30. They have a half-hour question before the meeting starts at 10 o'clock. They go on various bases, but I mean, Attleborough's the first one on. All right, don't forget that the town and parish council meeting probably had notification of Breckland as late this month, and I've got the date, but I know it's 5:30. It's on my calendar, but I've got the right date. So, I mean, I go along, but it'd be nice to see parish councils there. That's what the object is. And you question officers or whatever, all right? And the other thing is, we've got a full planning meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Breckland. And I will just refer to Mr. Thwaites, because I've got a long memory about the skateboard park, and that recently went there, and the hassle I've had with that. I wasn't against the skateboard park, but the position of it was totally wrong. And district councillor, who was my ward member with me, we went to committee at Durham, and that's a long while ago. That was at the Guild Board. And one or two town councillors come who supported it and said, I've asked for the conditions now, but Rebecca hasn't come back to me. But we got whitewashed that way, 12 minutes. They said they'll form a committee and keep control of, and it just escalated to the names and whatever. So, I mean, I thought that that's got to go in the new position on the record.
It's created other problems there as well. So it seems wherever we're trying to put it, it creates one problem or another. It hasn't been decided yet. It's still for consultation, but it's valuable to know where it is. It'd also be valuable to know Breckland's opinion from the panel on this as well at this stage, because if there is historical things that we need to be aware of, which they're going to reconsider when we put the new site up, I'd rather have information before deciding the final location than afterwards.
Yeah.
So that is probably worth the conversation with Breckland Planning at this stage. If you could help facilitate that, we know we have representation or representation.
I'll meet with Rebecca tomorrow at planning. She's getting me some information, but I haven't had the email back yet.
No, we
I've
appreciate
had one
it
or two
because we do want to do it right by the community. We know the need for this facility. The support for it from the community so far has been overwhelming. But obviously, if the location is going to cause a problem, we need to be aware of it before we plonk down a rather expensive concrete pad.
Well, it's got to be concrete, but that'd be pretty noisy.
No, it's
they're not
less.
quieter.
It's a lot quieter than the metals. It's far less, which is one of the reasons. There's longevity in noise. So I know this is a public part. but
No,
yes.
I am asking a
Sorry.
question on for a member
Yes,
of public who can't get here tonight.
Okay.
And I promised her, if she didn't make it, I would ask the question. Do we have any update on what's happening to the post office? How detrimental it is for the elderly in the town, people that are good, people that don't have cars, and Dodds Road don't do everything at the moment. But if you've got an update,
Well,
I
I probably have a similar update to what you has been issued out and Keith has forwarded to councillors as well. I was going to discuss it under other business, all the chairs of the business this evening. I feel it's appropriate because as councillors, then we can engage if anyone who wants to, yes, we'll discuss that then.
It's fine.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. On that, we'll close the public participation at this stage, and we'll move on to the minutes of the town council meeting held on the 4th of April for approval. Any comments or queries? No, would anybody like to propose their acceptance? Councillor Wenham, Councillor Montague second, show of hands for approval. Any opposed? Or abstentions? No, so that's approved. Planning matters. 8A, these are applications already agreed and responses made. The confirmation or application of members. Any comments? No? Anybody willing to propose their acceptance? Councillor McKinnon, Councillor Bond, show of hands for approval. Any opposed? And we have one abstention.
Thank you.
So noted. 8B, we'll start with ending 0479D, which is reserved matters application for detached houses and garages to Meadow Cottage or land adjacent. Any objections or comments? No. We'll go to the end of these and do a group one. 0257F of West Car Road, change of use of land from agricultural land to B2 use. You might be familiar with it's that little isolated piece of land with the road that comes off onto West Car. It's left a egg-shaped piece of land there for change of use. No objections or comments? 0465F, Free Church Road, and in fact, we might as well discuss it with 0466A because they're the same property as the one just out here. There's the erection of an awning and the new sign.
Both of these are retrospective.
They look
I was
like
gonna
they
say,
are. Yes,
yeah.
they do look like it. So no comments, objections. So that's it so far. That's our answers. There being no objections. If I could just propose that we record that as no objections. Anybody like to second that? Councillor Westby and the show of hands for approval. Okay, any opposed? And one abstention. 9A, under financial matters, to authorise payments. Any queries? No.
Is a mole trap a mole trap, or is it a name of something that's not a mole trap? You know what I mean?
It's a mole trap.
Is it like little moles that live under the sand?
Yeah.
Is
I
that
may have to invest in one of those myself. There's one in the back garden right now.
You need a horse. You've got a horse, you won't get moles.
Is that right?
No.
Oh, well, I used to have our horses all around the paddock edge would get moles, but not actually in the paddock. So whether it was the vibration of the hoof from the paddock.
Oh, I don't know, they're in with my horse.
Oh,
So maybe even lucky, or your horses are scary.
I'm just a bit concerned it's with mole trap climax delayed, so it's not a humane role.
It doesn't sound like it is.
That's a header.
Moving on. Payments at hand. Anybody who would like to propose acceptance of these in? Councillor Lane, Councillor McKinnon, secondly, the show of hands for approval. Any opposed on it? Anybody opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm I'm going to abstain just because
No,
they're
they
not
don't
domain
put
and
the
head
head
off.
They
No,
don't
they're
honestly.
sorry, they're two separate items.
Yeah,
The
they-
mole trap and the blade are not the same item. The blade is for the mower. The blade is for the mower. So
Does the mole die?
they catch,
No,
they
No.
catch the mole.
no, they can't smell when they just say bye-bye.
We definitely 100% do not kill moles.
No.
You've got
catch them first, I didn't think you do.
Okay.
I can either
I just don't
confirm
want, I
or
just don't want
deny.
blood on my hands. But okay.
Okay, well, let's carry it anyway. Item 9B, moving on. To agree direct debits, any questions on the direct debits? Councillor Montague.
Yeah, just a minor one. The Breckland Council rates on the cemetery shown as monthly, but no amount in there. What's the reason for that?
I believe the rates the last 2 months of the year you don't pay, is that correct? But it's probably on there because historically.
That wasn't off the bank statement this month, so I didn't.
No, that's fine. It's usually the last couple of months on rates you don't pay, is that right? I know it's like on a personal level. Okay. Any other questions on direct debits? Anyone like to propose acceptance? Councillor Westby, Councillor Taylor, show of hands for approval, please. Thank you, that's unanimous. To receive income, any queries? Councillor Smith.
How did the radar generate £3 income?
Because we charge for them.
Thank you, Councillor Montague. Was that the same question?
No, I was just proposing acceptance.
Okay, let's, Councillor Montague, anyone second that? Councillor Dale, and show of hands for approval. Thank you. There's no opposed. For information, petty cash payments, any queries or questions on those? No. 9E, income and expenditure for March 2022 for information. Any questions? Nine F, annual review of income, insurance schedule, sorry. This is the insurance schedule. It's got a lengthy document, if you have a chance to go through it. Any queries? No? Okay, we're going to move on. I just saw Tony's eyes glaze over in the background. I'm so glad I got the town council. Okay, we can prove this stuff. This is to do with the ride-on mowers for cemetery. Sorry? Oh, sorry, yes, yeah. 9F, I forgot, that one isn't for information, that's for acceptance and approval. Was there anybody like to propose? Councillor Lane, a seconder, please. Councillor Dale, show hands for approval. Thanks, Anne. Keep us right. Okay, so this is a proposal for the ride-on mowers for cemetery.
No, so, yeah, we're gonna have to defer that. This is the rep that we were hoping would come out last week and come out today.
Okay,
So we'll put that forward to the next meeting, but essentially this is about getting the cemetery up to standard. And the fact that the mowers that we have, although they are decent mowers, they're not actually the ideal mowers for getting between the gravestones and for expediting the job. And the ground staff have had a rep out today, and we are going to propose that we swap them for something that's a little bit more agile. So we'll put that forward next month.
okay, so that's the third. Unless there's any objections. Okay, 11A. Almost done, Tony. You can go back down after this. Okay, and this is the Funfest fireworks that were very successful last year, I must say. So if there's anyone would like to say anything on this, you're welcome to do so. Councillor Lane.
I've made contact with the committee over the weekend and originally arranged to meet with them within the next couple of weeks, just to an informal chat, see what support the council can give them. I'm moving forward to their events. So I have started the ball rolling with them. Which also I'll feed back to them.
So what you're asking for is this to be deferred until you've had that
No,
conversation?
no, no, I'm just saying that, you know, I think this is asking for a donation, but moving forward, our relationship with them, hopefully we can work together and.
Yeah, I'm going to come on to that in item 15 a little bit if I can, Debbie, for the radical thoughts. Councillor Montague.
Can I just ask why Sunday the 6th and not Saturday the 5th, which is after all?
Okay, do you know what? I'm going to propose that we suspend standing orders so Tony, who's here, can participate in this so we can ask questions. Anyone like to second that? Councillor Lane, the shout for approval. Protocols and all that, Tony. So, could you answer that question?
The simple answer was, Mr. Montague, Councillor Montague, the pyrotechnics guy, the fireworks guy, is pretty busy on the 5th of November. So we chose Sunday the 6th. It works well for us. And the other reason behind it was that it doesn't clash. If any other parishes around have their own event, Saturday the 5th would have been ideal for them, obviously. And we didn't want to clash and draw any competition in that respect. So 2 good reasons there. The pyrotechnics guy was key to the issue and trying not to clash dates with any other parishes around there. Okay. Okay.
That's okay, unless everybody's had the same thought and we're all trying to be too clever. Okay. Now that's, sorry, Deb.
So is this letter asking us for a specific figure? Because it says last year the CAS improved 2,000 to 4,000 and it's improved April. So are you asking for £2,000 or are you asking?
No, there's no specific figure in mind at the moment, Councillor Lane. As much as possible, really. We just like to make the event as big and as good as possible. So the more we can put towards it, the better that would be.
There's also, as part of this, a little bit of a request to help with the SAG as well, and just a few of its technical support as well.
Yeah.
Which, you know, has an impact on our staff as well, and but needs approval of council before we can do that. So there's a little bit of technical support.
Yeah.
If staff are willing,
I'm happy to help with that.
and a financial support as well. Okay. So let's have a conversation, guys. You know, let's not beat around the bush. It was £2,000 last year. I think particularly coming out of lockdown, it was a spectacularly great event to have. It was almost a celebration that, you know, we could get out and do something before we were locked down again. But it's a value added to our community. But these are taxpayers' money. We've got to take into consideration about this as well. So, what are your thoughts? Councillor Smith?
It's just a question. Where do you get the rest of the money from? Obviously, if the council's contribute a certain amount, where does the additional come from?
Well, we're going to be charging gate money.
Yeah.
The idea is we keep that as low as possible, maybe £1 per person, something like that. And we have funds available within our own FundFest team accounts. So we're looking not to wholly finance the situation, but to help back us up so that we can project forward for other events through the rest of the year and next year as well. So it's helping going forward.
And the other thing was, I am right, we've got 2 letters about the same thing here.
Yes.
Yeah, because one of them says last year was 2 out of 4,000, but the other one says it's 5.5 or 6.
That's the projection.
Councillor, we knew.
That, as Tony was explaining, that's projection for this year. As it was going a little bit grander. As someone who's done a few fireworks displays themselves, you know, bigger is better. Okay, Councillor Lane.
I can ask that last year you said we contributed 2,000. This has been running for a couple of years now, or
Last year was the first year we did post-lockdown.
Yeah.
But then I think we've done at least one or two previous to the COVID breaking out originally.
And do we know how much the town contributed to those previous
I
years?
haven't got that info with me.
Councillor Taylor probably has.
Yeah, that was £2,000 first year, definitely. That was to get them up and running.
So therefore, there hasn't been an increase since the first one, which would have been possibly 4 years ago.
Yeah, almost certainly.
So,
So we in effect contributed 50% to the 4,000. So we for the last year, we paid 2,000, it cost you 4. Is that right? So we paid 50% of the.
yes. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I feel like this is one of these things where you've got to be a little bit on the fence, because as much as it is a fantastic thing that's for the whole community, and it is for the whole entire community, there's also an element where, you know, that time of year, if it's going off on the community pages, you know it's about fireworks and people's dogs. I do think an event distracts from people doing it in their gardens. I think that promotes people not to do it at home. So it's not happening for a week, 2 weeks, because there's one event. But I am mindful that, like was pointed out, that it wasn't on fireworks night, so then people might still be inclined to do that at home. Is there, I don't want to like force you into a corner or anything, is there no wiggle room to do it on fireworks night itself?
I think, well, as far as the pyrotechnics guy goes, he was pretty stuck. Other than the Sunday, he got plenty of other bookings on the 5th previous and on the Friday the 4th. So that's why we chose that date in particular.
Okay.
That can be advertised as well.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, well, just really, I think, yeah, if it is properly advertised and that is the event, then perhaps people would defer doing it in the back gardens and going for that. As far as the money's concerned, I think if we just go for a bidding war, throw a figure in there, I think I was thinking on the same lines as Councillor Lane, in that it's 50%. In 2000 to 7 years, there's a suggestion that it might be in the region of £6,000. So my first dab at it would be to say £3,000. Just to try and get the ball rolling into.
Thanks, Roger. Great plan. I like it. Okay, Councillor Lane and then Rees.
I'd agree with Councillor Bond, that's why I was going to suggest 50%. But then, as a Reds committee member myself, there is the opportunity here. I know that when you did it last year, you did an event in the afternoon for it because it was Halloween. It happened to be the same weekend as our book sale. But there is no reason why the town itself can't benefit from there being an event on the recreation ground to bring, it needs discussion and thinking about, but there is that potential to expand that to bring more in to the town, to benefit, not just the bonfire.
Thank you, Rees, and then Councillor Taylor.
I just wanted to say that we're talking about the fact that it was 50% of what the total price was last year. And we keep mentioning that we paid 50% and what we're going to pay this time. However, we don't know for certainty how much it's going to cost this time. So although we keep saying 50%, it's not an actual figure we can follow. So I was wondering if we could possibly get a more definite figure of what the total price will be, so that we could consider, if we are going to pay 50% of what that event will cost, we know how much that is, so that we can consider paying that amount.
Thank you, Rees. Come back to just a moment. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I'm supportive. I am supportive. I do think, though, we do have to bear in mind the precedent that if other community groups put events on in the town and ask for more than our just grant funding, which is capped at £250. That, or we look at our grant funding applications and we're more generous with other groups.
No value point. Okay. Councillor Dale.
We never said we'd do it 50% more. What we did originally was give £2,000 as a help towards it at the beginning, and that's what we've done. We've
So it
not
just
said
set
we'll
out
give you
50%.
50% of what, you know, what it cost.
Mhm.
Historically, anyway.
Yeah, so reading between the lines, there seems to be a broad consensus of some financial support. We could defer, but I'm not a great fan of deferring things if we can make decisions. I get that, you know, there's a principle there, but if it's about a principle of sum of money, and then we'll make the budget work, I'd rather get it agreed there because it allows the group to have some certainty about what's going forward. And when you're planning this far ahead, you do need to know what funds you've got available. So Councillor Taylor, Councillor Westby, Councillor Ellis, and then we'll tie that into something.
Well, I was actually going to second councillor Bond's proposal. Was it a proposal?
Yes,
Yeah,
I think it
yes,
was.
it will be.
So I was going to second that proposal, but on the basis that we do look at our grants awards generally.
Okay, which we will bring that to council to review. Before I go to vote, to allow councillors to say something, and I can say.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Done?
Yeah.
Joe?
As you all know, the Hannibal Christmas lights depends quite heavily on the town council. And we appreciate what you do. And I also think these people, it's one day a year, but they need this support to be able to put this on. So bearing in mind the support in the past that you've given Hannibal Christmas lights, I think we should go for it.
Okay, so we have a proposal on the table here, £3,000. And I already guessed Joe Ellis's approval for this, so show of hands for approval, please. That is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you very much, councillors. Thank you.
Right, okay. Item 12, and I apologise for the annual meetings that we have. There's a lot of paperwork with stuff we have to do, formalities. This is another one of those. It is the terms of reference for the committees. Councillor Taylor.
Propose that we accept the mandate.
Yes, you can.
And I'll second it.
Show of hands for approval. Any opposed? No. Taylor, well done, well done, well done. That's how we get through this. Okay. And it's committee members next part of this. I know there's going to be a lot of committee members for some of these, as there are committee members. I want to find a more efficient way of doing it than the tradition. Councillor Taylor, you're good at these technical things.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be that we have a show of hands for the members wanting to join that committee and then a proposal to accept that.
And then we can see if there's any objections on this one. So in the first of these committees, the Environment Committee, could I have a show of hands of members who want to be part of that committee, please?
Yeah,
Almost,
usually
almost. Okay. Might be easy to record who isn't. Thank you. And for those of the record is Councillor Busk, Councillor McKinnon, Councillor Montague, Councillor Smith, Councillor Dale, Councillor Bond, Councillor Leslie, Councillor Westby, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Wenham, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Lane and Councillor. Thank you very much for that. So that's, and if we could have a seconder for that proposal. Councillor Westby, and a show of hands for approval. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Right. For the events and communications, a show of hands. Who wants to be on that committee? Not quite as many. Okay. Have you made notes?
I've got it, I've got it. Thank you.
So I believe that's Councillor McKinnon, Councillor Smith, Councillor Dale, Councillor Bond, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Wenham, Councillor Ellis, Councillor Lane, and Councillor. Yes. So is that everyone? Yes. Anyone would like to second that proposal? Councillor Ellis and show hands for approval. You. Any opposed? No. And finally, the standing orders review. That is 2 members go on to that by right with the terms of reference. That's the mayor and deputy. And then it is traditionally 3 other members. Has to be at least 5 in total. Any members who want to be part of that, please. Councillor Taylor, Councillor Westby, Councillor King. There's very few ones to do. You know what? We know where all the glory is now. Thank you. Anyone like to second that proposal? Councillor Westby, and a show of hands for approval, please, for appointment. That's unanimous. Thank you. Yes, Councillor.
Could I bring up the possibility that we could perhaps discuss at a future meeting, putting together a planning committee or a planning working party?
Yeah, you can always propose that we have committees. If you get a proposal to our next meeting or whenever you want to get a proposal, we can see if it's put onto the agenda. Okay?
Discussion. Clarification, is that planning to do things like planning?
No, planning that, planning application.
Oh, planning application.
I will say that we don't take a lot of time in non-council meetings to do this. But
We've got a lot of things coming up in the next few years.
yeah, well,
Considering we are doubling in size, we should prepare just in case we do next one eventually.
but no, it's as with most things, councillors, you're very welcome to make proposals on council meetings. Just give us enough notice so we can put it onto the agenda and include it in the meeting packs. Very open to do so. Okay. A meeting schedule for ordinary meetings for the municipal year. As included in the packs. Any comments? Yes,
Can I propose that we don't have a full meeting in August?
you can propose that as an amendment. Anyone would like to second that? Councillor Ellis. Okay, so on this amendment, this is a vote for the amendment. The August meetings, is this the main council or all August meetings?
No, the full council.
Just full council meeting, not the other 2 that's listed on here, which is events and communications and environmental committee. Is that?
The thing is, my committee will have to meet in March. I say March. Events will have to meet in August because we're having an event at the end of August.
Okay.
But I'm just.
For full council, so this is just for full council. I just wanted to clarify the motion. So it is just for full council meeting in August, but that we don't hold a meeting. It's been seconded by Councillor Ellis. A show of hands for approval, please. Opposed? I don't like these for the sake of it. And my wife has just given me the look. So I'm in trouble.
Well,
Okay.
Can I just say,
Yes, of course.
from previous experience with my other council, August was the month that the district councils and the county councils tried to sneak things in, because a lot of the 3rd tier councils didn't meet in August. Things like BA11 was detrunked in August.
Wow, that's a really, that's a really cynical look at things. I can't possibly make comment to this meeting. Okay, but so anyone like to propose acceptance without the amendment of the meetings? Councillor Day, would you just say flash your hand or is a yes? Was that half? So, and Councillor Smith, second the show of hands for approval. Thank you. I think that's gone through it. There we go. Almost in there. Item number 50. Now, a lot of information on this is historic, and I don't feel relevant to where we are as a council or community anymore. And the Twinning Association has actually disbanded in 2020. So it's, that's all it's good. Can I just share something if you'll allow me, when you're doing this? I want to shake up the way councillors represent on the town council. I feel sometimes, and I've taken the criticism, it can be too top heavy on the managerial side, and we need to spread the load better than we have done in the past. I also feel that you come on to do things. You don't come on just to sit here. You want to do something, you want to be engaged with the community. And a lot of these on here won't give you that opportunity to engage properly. There are some that we do need representation on, like the Snap Police liaison, which is Councillor Smith has done a fantastic job. So that needs to retain there. What I suggest is we defer this until next month's meeting, if we may, and consider having a different list here for us to, to go through. For instance, I feel that we need to link out to use a phrase, hinterland communities, or the villages that surround us. It would be great if we had a representative of the town council who was, in a sense, a liaison between ourselves and Old Wickenham, or Bestpool, or Ellingham, or Snetterton. And so we tie into their community parishes and hubs, rather than trying to go for the groups. And so, like, for instance, we've got Snetterton racetrack on here. But it's not really the racetrack we want to be in liaison with, despite my own personal life in racing. It is the fact that we want to tie into their communities, and we should go through their community hubs as well. So for us to reach out to do that, and also to have better liaison with main groups here, perhaps one with education on there, perhaps one with YAD, for the use of youth, that's the Youth Advisory Board. Perhaps we just need to relook at this list and say, which ones do we need to work with? Which ones work? And which ones can we put to one side of the place with something else, and give councillors an opportunity to really get a proper assignment that allows them to engage. That's how my thoughts are on that. Councillor Taylor.
If that's a proposal to further, I'd second that.
Okay. Any other comments before we go to vote?
So whoever's on these committees, when they have a meeting between now and the next meeting, is still represented.
Still, yeah.
Thank you.
They're still representative until the next meeting. And I'd also like to hear and give you a chance to reflect upon who do you feel should be on this list. And if you can feed that back to myself, Roger, Michelle, whoever else, so we can get this list on there. We don't want a never-ending list, but we do want a really productive list. And I think, particularly with the local villages, wouldn't it be great if we become the facilitator of their ambition as well? You know, that they link in. So much of what they do depends on what we're doing in their cases. And then we can have a conversation about fireworks. What day is your firework displays going on? You know, and feed back that way. And we become a conduit for good local information. And that's my vision of this, rather than just saying, we're going to assign you to somebody that, you know, you'll barely ever make contact with in the next year. I want you to feel as if you're a meaningful part of the town council, with a specific role and a responsibility to report back to council. Councillor Lane.
I attended the SNAP meeting last week with Councillors Taylor and Smith, and there were representatives there from Rockland. What? Great,
Not this one, there's three from Rockland, but no one from Ellingham.
But one of the ideas of SNAP is that it's looking at, you know, sort of areas to address over the next 3 months, and you know, there was a discussion about speeding, which of course affects us right the way through to Rockland. So having liaison with other villages is, I think, brilliant, because you know then we can all work together and take them forward.
And then, you know, you're chair of events at the moment, and that means if there's events going on in other local communities, we're not going to pick the same days, because we're all trying to see the community do well.
And support them.
Yeah, and if you put a fair on one week, they haven't got one the next week somewhere else. We try and mix it up a little bit, or we get good feedback. Somebody may have tried something that works really well in that town or village, And we think, you know what, we can put that on the agenda later in the year, that could be something that we can do. Or suggest it to local groups who can run those events. So we become more of communication and facilitation. And I feel that we've become of value then to our community. We are reaching outward into the communities we do this. Councillor Smith.
A question, there's a wide variety of organisations. These on the Grange Board comes out as being a very exciting one. There's no,
That's Andy and I.
where has this list come from? Is it just historic? Is it just that the council sends representatives, but does the council always send representatives?
It's a bit of both. There's a bit of necessity, like the boring one you just said. Sorry, I shouldn't say that out loud. But the like
It is important though.
but it's very, thank you, Andy, for going for that. He doesn't get paid to go as well, which is.
No,
But,
I lose money.
but there are some necessities there, and it's determining what they are, and what are the historic ones, like the Twin Association is closed down. There's useful ones like Fan and Poultry, which is a big part, and there is represented for a long time on this as well. So it's just picking out which ones are bringing value in and we need, which ones don't we. Yes.
The charities is on here because in the constitution it says they need a councillor,
Yes, they do.
whether it's town or Brecon or, and they need a councillor.
Yeah.
So that's why that was in there.
Absolutely. And then we've got the Attleborough Heritage Group. Well, as soon as they're based in town hall now, that may not be quite necessary because they've got direct lines of offices and
Yeah, I agree.
communication. And I'd rather have councillors, turn up at Ellingham and listen to their meeting and represent and say, look, this is the things that's happening in Attleborough. What's happening in your community? When can we work together on stuff? It's just a better way of doing it. I think sometimes parish councils are so anal and inward looking that we miss the greater good we can do. We just raise our eyes a little bit and look at it. Thanks, Ed.
I was just going to say, I mean, all these are about partnership and collaboration, but I think the starting point here as a town council members to actually understand what a partnership and collaboration is, and what it involves, what the principles are, what the measures of success are. So we go back to basics. So rather than coming up with a list that we've done historically, I think it's a root branch of what we're trying to achieve as council when we work with partners, whoever they are. What do we want to achieve? What's the end objectives? What's the necessary resources? Because all these require resources, internal, external. And what's our measure of success? So if we want to do it correctly, I'm not saying it's going to get very big and very messy, but there's some basic principles there. Rather than carrying on as we are, it's like, what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? When do we want to do it? Who do we want to do it with? And why?
Thank you for that. Yes, that's what that's.
I believe we've got to be most careful and fully agree with your observations. It is so easy to think, what are they up to? Are they wanting to interfere with us, take us over? It's funny how the brain works. I think we should consult and say, look, we want to work together because it's good for us to all together, but it's also good for the county. And there are things that we might be able to cooperate on, that a council has come up with some good ideas, and we say, right, okay, we'll try and promote this, that sort of thing. But I do believe that we need to have guidelines, and those guidelines, the councils that we're going to possibly relate to, they say yes, or they may come up and say yes, but they don't like that particular thing.
No, that's fine. And you kind of made a point that Ed has made as well, which is that perhaps we need to put together a sheet. It doesn't have to be a lengthy document, but just a guideline of these type of representations and partnerships going forward. so they know what guidelines we're working to. They'll be, they won't be in any way onerous or any way compulsory on other partners. It's really about us communication and cooperation. So we need to put something together for us to consider, and then we'll have to confirm a list that we want to approach. Of course, it takes two to tango, so the other parties have got to be willing to play ball as well, and it's not going to be something that we can unilaterally impose upon others, but I dictate upon them. So I think we've kind of got to that point. Did we have somebody make a proposal?
We did.
We did, yeah.
Myself and seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Okay, if you're happy, we'll make a vote on this now. So that's to defer this for consideration next meeting under the guidelines and points in there. Show hands for approval. That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, annual review of documents. I'm tempted to go with Taylor's adoption of this,
Before you do that,
but unless it's
how many of them changed? From the last time we looked at them.
The only ones that would have changed recently would be the ones that we did a couple of council
Yeah,
meetings
that was in
ago.
March.
So they won't be any that have changed that you haven't already seen.
yeah, we were mindful we didn't want to slip anything from the rug or do an August. Shall we call it?
I think we shall do on it.
Okay.
You proposed it, I'll second it.
Okay, show of hands for approval then. Thank you for saving us 200 pages. Oh, yeah, exactly. Look at that. Just okay, public participation. Any other comments? We have bored you to death already. I'm so sorry, I do apologise. Okay, what's the will to live out there? Okay. The other item, and I'm mindful we still have a suspension on signing orders, it still stands for this. If there, and I invite members of the public, if they want to make a comment on this point that I'm raising, then there are any other items that the chair feels are important or urgent, and that is to do with the post office. Okay, you may or may not be aware that there is a temporary closure of the branch opposite Sainsbury's on the High Street. And we've been given some information on it. I don't know whether many of you have seen this. I know councillors have this forwarded, and other key partners in the community know.
Yeah, it's also on the website and on our Facebook if anyone wishes to read it.
Thank you for publicising this. There's an opportunity to go on the link to make a comment to their department that reviews this at the moment. Can I encourage, rather than we as a town council collectively just do something, that every member of the town council, because volume does speak words in this case, it speaks to them. And if we can encourage our community to speak about this, because it's okay saying there's one up at Dobbs Road, it's not great. Peter, do you want to come in? So it looks like you want to say something, or dare you say for the corporate please on this?
I don't work for Postal Campus. The only thing I can say is that at the moment we're as much in the dark as anybody else. There is negotiations going on looking for another premises in the town, but when and that's going to happen, we don't know. We also don't know at the moment what is going to happen with people collecting packets and parcels. It will stop on Monday the 30th. Royal are also looking into this. I can't say any more than that. We've been told by management they're as much in the dark as we are, but there are negotiations going on at the moment.
Okay. Yes.
And I put my post office out on as well.
Go for it.
Sorry. Just to also say, I was quite surprised in this letter that it directs people to this as their nearest large post office, which is obviously really quite worrying for people. Dodds Road obviously don't do the full amount of services, but the regional manager for the post office said they are looking at changing that. But in the meantime, places like Rocklands, which are just up the road, you can get your full VVLA services at Rocklands. So rather than people thinking that they need to go to places like this, if you have a look on the post office website and put what servicing you like, you're looking for, you'll find that a lot of local outlets may do individual services. They're all different. So Rocklands does things that Great Ellingham doesn't, and Great Ellingham does things that Rocklands doesn't. And I'm not sure quite why it's set up like that, but you can get these services closer to town than having to go to this.
That could help if we communicate that.
Yeah.
And just, I'll come back to the note. Sorry.
I was
Sue.
just going to say the same thing. Then I'm quite naughty, but I don't know. I share a lot to the other Attleborough pages, so I'm quite happy to do that if you put on your. Yeah, I'm quite happy to share it to the various Attleborough pages.
Perhaps if we put together, perhaps if I put together a one pager of our local branches within a 5-mile radius and what they can offer, then we've got a bit of a one-stop shop we can share.
That'd be brilliant. Could I also say, can we do a separate one, encouraging people to write to the post office and give comments on this? Because we do really want representation. It's compounded more because we've lost banks. And you know, we had a conversation about, well, we've always got the post office with the banks closing because you can do a lot of bank services, the post office, and then they stop. And then, you know, particularly those who aren't able to travel, or those who aren't comfortable using online banking services and need the physical interaction of the bank. This is a real challenge. Probably of all the things we've discussed this evening, this is the most important to our community right now. So we need to address this seriously.
Can I just say that if I do hear anything, I will let the council know.
Thanks, Peter.
I'll keep you up to date.
Great. And what I would also recommend, two things is individually, you know, make representation, tell people about this, point them in the direction of information and to make comments. But also, I would like, as a council, if we could put something collectively together as a representation of the community, as part of the comments. So we do it twofold, on a personal and that. I know it's not strictly a proposal, but would you be in agreement with the delegated authority to our proper officer to make communication in this regard? If she puts something together that we can approve, if you're happy to do that. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I'm also in communication with hopefully two of the banks that have closed down locally about mobile banking that they bring in the van, and I will give you an update as soon as it is. Hopefully something positive on that. We're trying to get them in on the Thursday, the same day as a market day, so they can pull up in, you know, the market square, as it were, and kind of do localized banking. So they know on a Thursday I can come and do my banking. Haven't got anything confirmed yet, but we're trying to shake down every tree together. Councillor Best.
I believe this is of certainly high level political interest. I think we ought to be in touch with our local MP. I know that there are problems over in Wyndham. Unfortunately, the policy of the post office, since it's become a commercial post office, seems to be, well, where can we cut costs? What can we get rid of? Rather than saying, we are serving the community and we are interested in helping local businesses, etc., etc. I believe that we should not only contact the post office, which I don't have much confidence in, they've already made up their mind, but I do think that we ought to get in touch with George Freeman, or if we're living not in his area, another MP, because I believe that government ought to know what's going on within rural areas such as Norfolk.
I can confirm George has already been notified about this.
But letters can encourage them.
Yeah. And I'll be, and communication to them on this, yes, another point. Sorry, yes.
Sorry, sorry.
Blinking,
I was
I didn't quite get that.
just going to say, may I make a comment, please, in response to Councillor Buss, which is just slightly in defence of the post office. This is not the post office's decision to shut that branch. They did not want to shut that branch, and they are, from the conversations that I've had, really quite concerned, and I do believe that they are taking this very seriously. The current business model that a lot of post office branches have is a franchise business model, and if someone decides they no longer wish to operate that franchise anymore, they're a little bit stuck. So they are, I do believe they are very seriously trying to find a solution.
Okay, and the other thing I was going to mention is, continuing on conversation about communities, we're going to look to do a provisional meeting for community groups, where we try and bring people together in September. So date to be confirmed, but in September we're looking to have that after the summer holidays, after August, and everyone's back in school and so on and so forth, and we're going to have a meeting then, just to time that communication on a broad scale. That's it. We have some private matters that we need to discuss as a town council. So I propose that we press a resolution to listen to the public from the private parts of the meeting. Sorry.
On this note as well, I did just look at the meeting paper and realise it's actually Roger Norton, isn't it, that is doing the tenancy.
Yes.
So I have a personal interest in that, which I can stay for, but I'm going to choose not to, just because I think it makes, I'd rather be super transparent.
If anyone wants a second proposal for this regional pressing, Councillor Westby and Shaw. Thank you, that's passed. Thank you very much for watching, and we're going to take a slight pause whilst